In this lesson, we are going to talk about peace, pacifism, and peace building. Peace has been a central idea of majority of religions and often understood as tranquility, harmony, and absence of hostility. While majority of religions use word peace as wholeness, friendship, and harmony, Buddhism believes that peace can be attained by eliminating all sufferings. These diverse ideas on various theories on peace has inspired the theories and movements on peace. Starting from the beginning of the 20th century, Satyagraha and pacifism movements openly demonstrated their opposition to violence, war, and militarism. Satyagraha, translated as insistence on truth or loyalty to truth, which is a particular form of non-violent resistance or civil resistance developed by Mahatma Gandhi. He deployed Satyagraha in the Indian independence movement and also during his early struggles in South Africa for the Indian rights. The non-violence resistance theory influenced Martin Luther King and James Bevel's campaign during the civil movements in the United States as well, and many other social justice and similar movements. The word pacifism itself was coined by the French peace campaigner Émile Arnaud and adopted by other peace activists at the 10th Universal Peace Congress in Glasgow in 1901. Pacifism is based on two main ideas. The first one is moral principles. This is based on the deontological philosophy, and the second one is pragmatism, which bases on consequentialist view. The deontologically pacifism holds that at some point, along with the spectrum from war to the interpersonal physical violence, such violence becomes morally wrong. Pragmatic pacifism holds that the cost of war and interpersonal violence are so substantial that better ways of resolving disputes must be found. And in general, pacifism rejects the theory of just war. And what is this just war theory? A just war theory has evolved to the idea that preserves that there are two distinct but relatively similar themes. The first one is called the jus ad bellum, or moral justification for starting the war. The second one is called jus in bello, or moral guidelines for conducting the war. Each involves several conditions to be satisfied. For a war to be considered just under the tradition, both the conditions which justify resorting to war and conditions which justify conducting the war must be met. This theory legitimizes the right of state to use war as a tool in means of self-defense or maybe territorial integrity. However, two world wars demonstrated that results of war is devastating, both for humans and for states as an institute. Thus, need and understanding of peace became a part of global agenda. United Nations and international organizations were founded in order to prevent wars happening and increase security and well-being of all human beings around the world. Main theories about peace was presented by Johann Galtung, the father of peace studies, in the three main definitions and categories. First of all, there is an old idea, as we already mentioned before, coming from the religious ideologies, presenting peace as synonymous of stability or equilibrium. This conception of peace also refers to the internal state of a human being. The person who is at peace with himself also covers the law and order concept. In other words, the idea of predictability of social order, even if this order can be brought through threat or violence. Then there is another idea of peace as an absence of organized collective violence. In other words, violence between major human groups, particularly nations, but also between classes or ethnic groups, racial groups, because of the magnitude internal wars can have. This type of peace is called negative peace. Then there is the third concept of peace as synonymous for all other good things in the world community, particularly cooperation and integration between human groups and less emphasis on absence of violence. This type of peace is called positive peace. Theories on peace in the field of peace studies suggested these main schools affiliated with general realism and liberalism. Conflict resolution mechanisms were developed, negotiations and international laws were implemented starting from the mid-20th century In this period, active peace and democratic peace theory started manifesting in various states, calling for comprehensive understanding of peace by attaining democracy, free trade, justice, and maintaining rule of law. Democratic peace theory was presented by the Cambridge economist John Maynard Keynes as a tool of prevention of war. During the economic globalization in the decades leading up to the World War I, writers such as Norman Angell argued that the growth of the economic independence between the great powers made the war between them fulfilled and therefore unlikely. However, left-wing liberals and socialists believe that capitalism is causing unbalanced power and control over resources, which results to the conflicts. However, John Keynes argued that managed capitalism could promote peace. So this involved international coordination of fiscal monetary policies and international monetary systems that did not pit the interests of countries against each other and had a high degree of freedom of trade. These ideas underlay Keynes' work during World War II that led to the creation of International Monetary Fund and later the World Bank at Bretton Woods in 1944. And later of great agreement on tariffs and trades, which later led to World Trade Organization. According to the Institute of Economics and Peace, in 2017, 93 countries became more peaceful and 68 countries became less peaceful. According to the Peace Index, Iceland has maintained its position as the most peaceful country in the world in 2017 GPI and has been ranked as the world's most peaceful country every year since 2008. It's also ranked as the most peaceful country on 2 or the 3 domains covered in the GPI, which is societal, safety and security, militarism, and ongoing conflicts. So there are still some countries which are in the last position in this peace index, where the ongoing wars, militarization, and a lack of security is going on. Meanwhile, the importance of peace and maintaining peace is one of the biggest priorities of the global world right now, and it's very important to understand that while there are lots of conflicts and wars going on, one day the peace will always be prevailed. Thank you.